bro. Okay? Good to see you, those who are watching online also. This message is about the Feast of Tabernacle. You know why? Simply because the season at the spring and at the fall like this, I basically made a commitment, since these festivals are biblical and so on. That's exactly what Christ, while he was on this planet, walking the earth as a human being type of thing, he kept these festivals. And basically that's the Feast of Tabernacle here, that I would just want to say a few words about it. The Feast of Tabernacle, Hebrew Sukkot, it's booth, basically. The Feast of Tabernacles in Hebrew, Sukkot, means booths, okay? A little shelter. This is my wife. While she was living in Israel, in the backyard, she took a picture of a booth. That's what they do, and they sleep, basically, in it here. And it has two symbols. It's a bit of an imitation. They try to imitate where they were living in the wilderness, wandering, and so on. In booths and so on, while they were waiting to take the promised land and so forth. For the Jews, it has two symbols. The first one is, we're not quite interested in it. They say that this is a waste of national hope because it's flimsy. Okay, and they had to wait 40 years living in that kind of shelters before entering the Holy Land and so on. On the other hand, when you flip the coin, it symbolizes hope for the future, the restoration for the future, and it's based on the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 11. A very short presentation, because last year I did that. They sleep inside, they go inside, they have tables, and they decorate it. No, they don't stay in their own apartment. It's a time of festivity, basically, the Feast of Tabernacle. They do what we call the lulav. They take 4 species together, attached with a rope a little bit, with a etrog. The heart, it symbolizes the human body. The palm branch is the spine. The willow is the mouth. The myrtle are the eyes. And the etrog are the heart. And that's what they wave at Tabernacle. Okay? At the triumphal entry, it's a mistake. I'm not going to preach about that tonight. They were waving palm branches, but it was Passover. The waving of palm branches, it's never at Passover. It's always at the Feast of Tabernacle here. You know this already. Be with me. The 7 holy seasons of Israel, based upon the book of Leviticus, they come in 2 sets. You have seen these slides for the last 3 weeks, basically. First is Passover, fulfilled at the spring by the death of the Messiah. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, the fact that his body was unleavened. The Feast of First Fruit, fulfilled in the past by the first coming. He is the first fruit of the resurrection with a glorified body. The Feast of Weeks, that's the Pentecost, basically, Pentecostal denomination. That's the birth of the church and so on. Then we have a gap of 4 months. You know that. Olga arranged that for me without festivals, and then came the fall. Now, these 3 festivals will be fulfilled by the second coming of the Messiah, each respectively. We preached a few weeks ago about the Feast of Trumpet, fulfilled by the rapture. So basically, the rapture of the church will be the fulfillment of the Feast of Trumpet. They blow the shofar for a gathering. God, the Lord, will descend in the atmospheric heaven, and we go with Him. I think you were there, Pastor Boy, for that one. The Day Atonement was last week. A time of feast, a time of fasting, a time of no bath, no shaving, no shower. And this Day of Atonement will be fulfilled by the Great Tribulation. The 7 years of the Great Tribulation. Last week I did a message on Leviticus chapter 16, the principle of the 2 goats and stuff like that, representing Christ in it. Tonight, this evening, that's the Feast of Tabernacle. That's the one in red. And what will be the fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacle? What will fulfill Tabernacle? It's the establishment of the Messianic kingdom. When Christ will return and establish the 1,000-year kingdom, that's what will fulfill Tabernacle. Do you remember quickly at the transfiguration of the Messiah when James, John, and Peter went out on the Mount of Transfiguration, Mount Hermon and so on, and he was transfigured, releasing the Shekinah glory that was veiled by his body? What was Peter's response? It is good, Lord, to be here. Let's build 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. It was good. because he saw the glory, and Peter was thinking he will establish the kingdom. But Peter was wrong. His timing was wrong, because he needs to die first. He needs to fulfill Passover, the first set, and all that comes before fulfilling tabernacle. So, that was a crash course tonight about the Feast of Tabernacle, because this is not necessarily the approach that I want to give it tonight. Now I'm coveting your attention, and I would like to turn in these passages one at a time, the first one being Psalm verse 15. I have a crystal ball in the back. Would you like to embark into the occult? Probably not. Okay? But people are still fascinated by that. Okay? If I would tell you Jane or Larry or Terry or whatever, I will tell you your future. Oh, it's kind of triggering. It could be exciting, and so on. Curiosity, we should never embark into it, never, ever, ever, but it triggers a curiosity. Now, the message that I did prepare today here, what will be life for you during that time for both the Jews and the Gentiles? First of all, I look at you glancing at the room, trusting that you do sustain a relationship with the Messiah. So having said that, it makes you a believer, and you will be partaking into the 1,000-year kingdom. And my message tonight, based upon 2, 4, 6 passages of the scriptures briefly, it's not going to be a long message. It's to give you some of the characteristics of the life that will be in the Messianic kingdom. For me, it's a message that I never preach, but I want every year to give it a different approach here. So this message tonight is concerned with 6 passages dealing with general characteristics of the Messianic kingdom, since the kingdom fulfilled the Feast of Tabernacle. You don't have the choice, beloved. Even if you don't believe in the Messianic kingdom, I am sorry, but you will partake of it anyway. Because you have everlasting life, and everlasting life starts right now. You might die physically, but you will be resurrected on time to come back with Him and be partakers of the kingdom. And my willingness tonight is to give you characteristics of the age to come. And my prayer, it's not even on my notes what I say right now, my prayer is that with a message like this, we might learn slowly to turn our eyes off of this world. This world system here is far from being the Messianic reign or the Messianic age or the Messianic kingdom. All terminology used basically synonymously. Okay? Don't know how to say that word. Anyway. Okay? So, if only we would get a little bit of a glimpse of what is the hope of a Christian today. And unfortunately, those who are from the amillennialism view, they cannot share that hope with you because they allegorize this, and we don't have the right to do so. Francois, as much as I can be explosive, and French Canadian, being impetuous and so on, I and you will be partaking of the kingdom. So I just want to read the text tonight, 6 passages, and make a few points with it. Are you with me?
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean by this? I'm just showing you your future for 1,000 years only. I'm not getting into what we call the eternal order, the New Jerusalem coming down on the new earth. It's not what I'm talking about. Because the Messianic kingdom is on this planet. Okay? Come with me. Psalm 15. I want you to be with me. Scriptures is important. Psalm 15 verses 1 to 5. It describes here a citizen in the kingdom. You and I. This is your future written right there. O Lord, who may abide in your tent? You will. Who may dwell on your holy hill? He who walks with integrity and works righteousness and speaks truth in his heart. He does not slander with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor takes up a reproach against his friend, in whose eyes a reprobate is despised, but who honors those who fear Jehovah. He swears to him in his own hurt and does not change. He does not put out his money at interest, nor does he take a bribe against the innocent. He who does these things will never be shaken. That's what characterizes a citizen in the kingdom. Most of it, though not all of them existing in the kingdom, will be characterized by what I wrote here. Not gossiping anymore, not righteousness, because sin will be largely reduced, but that's a picture of you. You will never slander again. You will have righteousness, truth, and integrity, because you will receive what we call the glorified body, which will be unable to sin. No aging, no gaining of weight, and it's going to be a body spirit-sustained, not blood-sustained like we have right now. No disease, nothing of it. Because you will have the new body at the rapture, or when you will get resurrected, and then for 1,000 years, beloved, what an encouragement. You will work righteousness, you will speak truth in your heart, which we can do today, but not without fail. So here you have a picture of what life will be for you and I in the Messianic kingdom. You will speak truth and you will not do mistake because you have been forgiven. You will be given a new body, and this body will not have the capacity to sin. Psalm 24, 1-6. Psalm 24, 1-6. Not all will be like this. I'm going to come back to that later. But you and I, as far as you and I, you seem numb a little bit. Are you still with me?
Yeah.
Do you believe it?
Yeah.
Beloved, this is your hope.
Yes.
It's not about now. Back problem and all the lists of prayer, Derek, and the surgery. You will live out the 1,000-year kingdom for the entire 1,000 years without having surgery.
Can you imagine?
I think it's Psalm 24, 1-6. The earth is Jehovah's and all it contains, the world and those who dwell in it. He has founded it upon the seas and established it upon the rivers. Who may ascend into the hill of Jehovah? It's a question. You will be able to do so. You will see him face to face. And who may stand in his holy place? You and I. He who has clean hands and a pure heart. Not right now. You are asked in the news to wash your hands all the time. But in this Messianic kingdom, I don't know if it's going to happen, but you will have clean hands spiritually and a pure heart. We have a pure heart in the sight of God right now, but out of my heart sometimes comes actions of sin and thoughts of sin. Not in the Messianic kingdom. He who has not lifted up his soul to falsehood and has not sworn deceitfully, he shall receive a blessing from Jehovah and righteousness from the God of his salvation. Verse 6, this is the generation of those who seek him, who seek your face, even Jacob. Like I said, and I repeat, the passage here describes the establishment of the kingdom and the righteousness that will characterize you and I for sure. So you can see that there are better days to come in the future. Because here we drop the ball. And you know, beloved, that this is an expression that I use all the time, the dropping of the ball. But there will be no dropping of the ball in the Messianic kingdom. And you will be in charge. I jumped the gun right now, but it doesn't matter. You will be in charge. And the constitution of the kingdom will not be a church constitution. I am holding the constitution of the Messianic kingdom. I'm holding it. It's written. It doesn't need to be written. And I praise you because of most of you, either in the Pentecostal church here, you study it very seriously. For 1,000 years, you're holding, Andrew, on your lap right now the Constitution, so may as well. In the Messianic kingdom, you might be sitting beside Amos, and he will do that to you. Hey, Andrew, did you read my book? Oh, I didn't know that you wrote a book. For those who never read Amos. There is a guy in the Bible called Zephaniah. What if he invites you for supper? Hey, by the way, I'm the one that wrote Zephaniah. I am Zephaniah. Nice to meet you. What's your name again? Zephaniah. You have studied it and I like it. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 2. Kind of fun. We are in Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2 to 4. Take your time. Find your scriptures if you want. It's not an exposition, just to show you the characteristics of the kingdom. Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2 to 4. We just studied it last night. Now it will come about in the last days, very future for Isaiah. The mountain of the house of Jehovah will be established as the chief of the mountains and will be raised above the hills. So the highest peak on earth will no longer be Everest. It will be Zion. And all the nations will stream to it, and many peoples, Gentiles, will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of Jehovah, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us concerning his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For the law will go forth from Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Here. Okay? Here we have a major point in this passage. That's the universal peace on this planet. The Gentiles, it means Arab people. Okay? It means Quebec people, all the people, the nations of the planet. Anti-Semitism will be largely reduced. They will go three times a year to worship the Lord, Passover and 2 more festivals and so on in Jerusalem. That's where you will be appointed somewhere on this planet. I don't know if it's going to be BC. You will be in charge to send representative there to represent where you will be at that time. And you're going to need to evangelize. And you will never be nervous and never make a mistake also. Your work will be perfect. You're going to rule over nations, not over Israel. So here, the passage, it's a universal peace on the planet. Beloved, you will never see this of this world. I'm glad that most of the people are my age or older. Some of you, the older people, have seen close to the war and so on. This is your only hope. If you place your hope in the federal government, the blue or the red, you know they all let us down to an extent. Conflict, call it controversies or whatever the case could be. Your time for 1,000, your time and mine. I'm making eye contact right now, Rob. You will live it out. Yeah, but I really don't believe, Francois. I have a different view about it. I don't care. You will live it out. I'm not talking about views about it right now. You will be surprised when you will wake up and say, I'm in it right now. Francois was right. It's not right. That's the teaching of the word. If I allegorize this, if I make an allegory of this, saying that this is not existent, the Messianic kingdom, I wreck the faith of most Old Testament people. Yes. Mary and Joseph, their hope is gone. The hope of an Old Testament saint today, even the Hasidim, those who are not standing in old belief, these guys, they wait for the age to come. They don't realize that the Messiah has already come. They wait for Messiah to come and establish the 1,000. They will not say 1,000 because they don't read Revelation. Do you remember I read Revelation to you to make a point about the 1,000 years? These guys, they believe in the Messianic kingdom, but not about that duration like us. They wait for this, but they won't make it. No Jesus, no Messianic kingdom. Isaiah 11. Characteristics of what's coming. Perfect peace. Isaiah 11, 6-9. Love that. And the wolf will dwell with the lamb, and the leopard will lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little boy will lead them. Also the cow and the bear will graze, their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The nursing child will play by the hole of a cobra, and the weaned child will put his hand into the viper's den. They will not hurt or destroy in my holy mountains, the Messianic kingdom mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of Jehovah as the waters covers the sea. Do I have a need to tell you that we're not in it right now? Do I need to tell you this? There will be peace, like in the previous passage that I spoke. The previous passage was this, but the peace will be so universal and so big that it will be extending to the animal kingdom. Because right now you cannot have a little lamb sleeping beside the lion. Something will happen if somebody's hungry with this. Okay? I will come back to that in the last passage and so on. Okay? The animal kingdom will return, make a note of this, to the Edenic state and become vegetarian again. Did you know that? You know that? Okay? When you go to Genesis chapter 1, don't go, I will do the reading for you. I was supposed to do it later, but I will do it now. When you go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, it says this: God blessed them, Adam and Eve, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Verse 29. Then God said, behold, I have given you, Adam and Eve, every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth. So they were vegetarian, Adam and Eve. And every tree which has fruit yielding seed, it shall be food for you, is speaking to Adam and Eve. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth which has life, I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. So, as it was past in Genesis, where the animal kingdom, there was no shedding of blood. You cannot have bloodshed before Genesis chapter 3. Because that's the first time that an animal was slain. So all the animal kingdom were vegetarian as well as Adam and Eve. So in the future, when you go on the other side of the room, when we get into the Messianic kingdom, we will be brought back to what it was in Genesis. And the knowledge of God will permeate throughout the entire world, affecting both man and animal alike. Isaiah chapter 65, 17 to 25. So these are characteristics, to stop right now for a moment, of what's awaiting for you. Be serious with me. How many of you have a pet, a cat or a dog? They don't have everlasting life. Thank you so much. They're not going to see them in heaven. Otherwise, Christ would have had to become a cat or a dog. So as much as there is no salvation for angels, Satan cannot go back to, I've messed around quite a bit, save me please, I believe you as my Savior. There is no salvation provided for angels. Why? Christ would have had to become an angel. Yeah. Salvation is provided only for mankind. He took upon himself the likeness of sinful flesh without sin, and he died for mankind. Amen. So I love your pet, but don't think that, okay? Just to correct something and to make it right a little bit. Because we have a tendency, pastors, we say, good for you, you will see him again. No, it's not going to work this way. 65, verse 17 to 25. Very misunderstood, very much. Because like I said to you in the past, no Old Testament prophet, when they were prophesying, seeing far, far, far ahead, like Isaiah, no Old Testament prophet ever saw in the future past the kingdom. You cannot text Isaiah and say, hey Isaiah, do you know about the New Jerusalem coming down on the new earth with streets of gold? And Isaiah, well, what did you smoke, Francois? I never read this anywhere. No Old Testament prophet saw past the Messianic kingdom. So that's why here there is a lot of confusion in students in college and seminary here. 17, for behold, I create new heavens and new earth. So this is not the new things of Revelation 21:22. These are this earth renovated after the cataclysm of the Great Tribulation. Because the surface of the planet will be quite violently shaken. So, for behold, I create a work that only God can do, new heavens and new earth, and the former things will not be remembered or come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I create, the word bara, given only to God. For behold, I create Jerusalem for rejoicing. And you're going to go. And her people for gladness. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and be glad in my people. That's the Messianic kingdom, the fourth temple. And there will be no longer heard in her, Jerusalem, the voice of weeping and the sound of crying. No longer will there be in it an infant who lives but a few days. So, good news. No death in infancy in the Messianic kingdom. Okay? Or an old man who does not live out his days. For the youth will die at the age of 100. You see, it cannot be eternal order. In the eternal order, there is no such a thing as death. In the Messianic kingdom, there will be reduced, but there will be. For the youth will die at the age of 100, and the one who does not reach the age of 100 will be thought accursed. I will come back to that in a moment. They will build houses, not in the eternal order. You will build houses on this planet and inhabit them. They will also plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They will not build and another inhabit. They will not plant and another eat. For as the life of a tree, so will be the days of my people. And my chosen ones will wear out the work of their hands. They will not labor in vain or bear children for calamity. For they are the offspring of those blessed by Jehovah, and their descendants with them. So it will come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are still speaking, I will hear. Different relationship in prayer also. The wolf and the lamb will graze together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox, and the dust will be the serpent's food. They will do no evil or harm in all my holy mountain, says Jehovah. Okay? So, it's basically this as a story. Okay? Don't make notes because it's going to go too fast. It's a story. I've explained something here. Okay? On day one of the Messianic kingdom, when he comes back after the 7 years of the Great Tribulation, you come back with him. I told you already that you will partake in all of it with the glorified body. You come back with him. He will establish the kingdom, and on day one of the kingdom of God, the Messianic kingdom, on day one of it, everybody will be saved. Jews and Gentiles alike. Okay? Because the tribulation, you have the judgment and the sheep of the goats, and that's the people that will help the Jews during the Great Tribulation. The Gentiles I'm talking about. So on day one of the Messianic kingdom, Francois comes back with a glorified body. I do not reproduce. I don't get married with a glorified body. But those of the Great Tribulation here that did not die, they make it through the Great Tribulation, they will enter day one with their non-glorified body. These are the tribulational saints, Jews and Gentiles. And they will reproduce.
Only the saints.
Only the saints. On day one, everybody is saved. On day one of the Messianic kingdom, everybody is saved. So the Jews and Gentiles enter day one, and they will reproduce, not you and I. And they will have 100 years to repent. And those who will die after 100 years, they will taught a curse. So these are the people that you will be evangelizing. Oh. It's for them that you will share the same gospel, because when they will be born, reaching 12 years of age, unsaved, only the Gentiles. Because based on Jeremiah 31, all the Jews will be saved. Even those born during the kingdom, they will accept Christ anywhere between 0 to 100. And then when they accept Christ, they live out the kingdom. Okay? The Jews, all of them will accept, because that's a promise of the new covenant. They will all know me, says the Lord. So TSM, the sword ministry from a Jewish perspective, there will be no such a thing in the Messianic kingdom to evangelize the Jews. Only the Gentiles. And it's over them that you will reign. You will be in charge of them. Because you cannot sin. Do you think that you listen to all that kind of stuff for nothing? That's the death of infancy. There is no death in infancy. The one that's still in unbelief, although there is sin in the Messianic kingdom, despite the fact that Satan is bound for 1,000 years. We don't need Satan to sin. I can sin by myself. I don't need him necessarily. It will be largely reduced, the amount of temptation, but some will rebel. They will die in unbelief at the age of 100 or before. But no death in infancy. That's what characterized the kingdom. That's why we need to be ready for these things. You will share the same gospel. The gospel will be the 3 points of the gospel. Christ died for you, was buried, and rose again. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know some of you, beloved, I cannot speak publicly. I hate public speaking. Cannot do it. This will not exist in the Messianic kingdom. All these fears and trembling and stumbling over my word, I don't know if I will retain my accent, probably. Anyway, but I will not sweat anymore. That's why I keep my jacket on, because it doesn't look very good. So it's done in the Messianic kingdom. It's over. No dropping of the ball anymore. You will memorize your stuff. God will give you, I don't know which language you will speak. I don't know. Don't ask me this question. But when God will say, I appoint you in Duncan as the spiritual leader of Duncan, you will not do mistakes. And that's what you will never be in charge of the Jews. King David will do it, and the 12 apostles will rule over the 12 tribes. We are a different branch of government. And you will not fail in sharing. You will not be shaky. I could not remember the passage. It's going to flow. Because you guys, us, not you guys, us guys, will not have a physical body. You will not get remarried with your wife, Rob. You will know her, probably, but you will not be in need of her or her in need of you like we are right now. I miss you, honey, because Christ will be your full and exclusive sufficiency.
Amen. Amen.
You will not miss John. John, will you miss her? We'll talk after the meeting. Because I'll talk to you on the parking lot, just the two of us.
But I can still be his friend.
If he wants to, I don't know. Micah chapter 4. In conclusion. I said that I will talk to him after the meeting. Micah chapter 4. I'm done. And Micah chapter 4 is the same thing, and it will come about in the last days. That's Isaiah. That the mountain of the house of Jehovah will be established as the chief of the mountains, and I will be raised above the hills, and all the peoples, that's the Gentiles, will stream to it. Many nations will come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of Jehovah and to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us about his way. There will be Messianic Bible studies. Will you attend? You need to register. I don't know if you need to register at that time. And we walk in his paths, for from Zion will go forth the law. That's the law of Christ, not the Mosaic law, never to come back. Even the word of Jehovah from Jerusalem, and he will judge between the many peoples, render decisions for mighty distant nation. Then they will hammer their sword into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations will not lift up sword against nation, and never again will they train for war. So no military, Rob. Over. You're not going to teach how to operate a bazooka, a tank, a shotgun. Everything will be a perfect peace. Each of them will sit under his vine and under his fig tree, which is known as being a place of blessing, with no one to make them afraid. For the mouth of Jehovah of hosts has spoken. Do all the people walk each of the name of his God? As for us, we will walk in the name of Jehovah our God forever. No comments. These are characteristics. Let me summarize all this. Summarize what, François? I am simply summarizing your hope. Summarizing your hope. Because there is not much here. I don't want. As a pastor, let's say it, shepherding a small flock to an extent, I'm not the Messiah, but I want the best. I don't want the people to go back in their car full of deceptiveness in this world. We are in it, we're not of it. And Francois needs to like it. I'm not very passionate about this planet. I've been on it for 60 years right now. I think it's enough, but I cannot decide these things. We live in a good place. This is far from being God's country here on Vancouver Island, because October, November is coming, and it's a very wet country. Okay? So, a summary of what is our hope. Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. So, therefore, as having Satan bound for 1,000 years, there will be a large reduction of sin and death. There will be death. You just studied Isaiah 65. Okay? There will be universal and personal prosperity. You are believers, there will be universal and personal prosperity. Peace between man and man. Peace between animal and animal. And peace between man and animal. There will be no such a thing as a bear devouring the tent of people in Tofinos or what do we have on Vancouver Island? The cougar type of thing. Many effects of the curse will be removed, and the reign will be characterized, because the king will be Messiah. It will be characterized by truth, a thing that is rare on this planet right now, from leaders of this planet. Holiness, righteousness, justice, labor, building, planting, with a guaranteed result of it. And for you, it's even more than guaranteed, because you will be given the body that will make you not the perfection of God, but perfect. You will not be able to sin. No more sin in the Messianic kingdom. That's what I call your full glorification. I finish with the 3 tenses of salvation of Romans. In the past, you have been one time, once and for all. Past aspect of your salvation is what we call justification. It happens only once in a lifetime. The day that you gave your life to the Messiah, you have been declared righteous. Do you remember my jacket on the shoulder of John? Clothed in the spiritual nakedness. Right now, in the present tense here, my jacket should say, Francois is getting sanctified. A progressive sanctification, a washing of my body, rather my soul, with the Word of God. Because that's why we do these meetings, these churches. It's to get sanctified, to bring our position more in conformity, to bring our walk more in conformity with our position. What's your position? You're justified. So now as we get the soul washed, like you wash your hand, our soul is becoming washed by the washing of the Word. So you become, he looks at you, Jane, and then day by day she's become like my son, as the walk, thinking, and the speech, and that's what we crave for. But in the Messianic kingdom, you will enjoy the ultimate glorification. No capacity to sin anymore, a state of being sustained by the Spirit, no longer sustained by blood. No longer loss of memory, failure of thinking, aging in the body, overweight, too small, or whatnot. This is my conclusion, and I hope that I have instilled in you a grain of a different hope to come. And the message, just to repeat that, was about the Feast of Pentecost. The Feast of Tabernacle, which will be fulfilled by the establishment of the reign of your Messiah. You will see him face to face, not every day, depending on where you will be allocated. I don't know if it goes in. You will see the King, because he's a man. He retains humanity. He never undone that. Face to face. There will be a burning fence around the temple. That's what we call the Shekinah glory. I would be just happy to see the fence. Just this, I'll be happy. You give me half an hour to reboot my system, and we try to sing one more. Come with me. Next week, we won't have the problem. We'll put all the stress on Boyd. He plays music.